Opening a Photoshop or Illustrator file inside Affinity can feel confusing at first, and many users worry that their layers or artboards will fall apart during the transfer. If that feeling sounds familiar, stay close because this walkthrough will give you a clear path from the moment the file sits on your desktop to the moment it appears inside Affinity with all its structure intact. The process starts right on the file icon. When an Illustrator file sits on the screen, a simple right click opens the door. The moment you hover over Open With, Affinity becomes an available option. Clicking it triggers Affinity to load and a small import box appears. This box controls how the file enters the workspace. Illustrator files often use artboards, so the artboard option usually stays enabled by design. The DPI field may appear too, and it helps to leave that value untouched unless the project requires a special resolution. After confirming the settings, the file opens and the full artwork appears along with the layer structure that many designers rely on. The import process preserves each element as its own layer, which helps during editing or rearranging later. Some users notice that a page in the design may look slightly softer or more jagged than expected. This happens because Illustrator and Affinity render complex vector shapes in different ways, especially when effects or expanded strokes come from older versions of the file. The artwork itself remains editable, tough, and a small adjustment usually brings the design back to a crisp state. This small surprise often leads to relief because it shows how Affinity handles illustration structure with more accuracy than expected. Photoshop files follow the same basic flow. When a PSD sits on the desktop, right-click and a move to open with. Let's straight into Affinity. The program loads the file and builds a new document around it. Many Photoshop projects rely on smart objects or camera raw processing, and those features tend to appear inside Affinity as embedded documents. This gives you a clean container for effects that originally lived inside Photoshop. The PSD layers appear in the panel, ready to further editing. Seeing a smart object turn into an embedded document can feel surprising, but the structure stays consistent, which keeps the creative process predictable and safe. During the first few attempts, opening files from two different Adobe programs may feel like a gamble. After a little practice, the steps turn smooth. A simple right click brings Affinity into action. The import form confirms the structure and the layers settle in place. This creates a sense of control because the workflow stops feeling mysterious. With these steps, Photoshop and Illustrator files stop being obstacles. Each file becomes a familiar object that shifts confidently into Affinity, ready for new edits, new colors, or a fresh layout. Once the process becomes part of your routine, work moves faster and design tasks feel lighter.